everyone, and welcome to tonight's edition of Literary Nights with Unsolicited Press. Before we begin, I want to let everyone know that to please remember to like us and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And on Instagram, please heart us and follow. Also, in the comments section from wherever you're watching, you will be able to make comments, ask Patricia questions, and go from there. So it can be interactive if you want it to be. Tonight is a very special night pre-Thanksgiving because we have Patricia Bidar with us, and her new book is forthcoming. It's pub date. It's Pardon Me for Moonwalking, and the pub date is actually next week. So we're going to hear her read from her short stories. And so welcome, Patricia. I'm going to remove this cover right now so people can hear you and see your face. So thank you for joining us tonight, and thank you for reading from your book for us. And after you do a reading, we're going to have a Q&A.
That's great. Thank you for hosting this and for having me. I wanted to tell people that Rosalia is my pressmate here at Unsolicited Press and runs this great series that is bi-monthly. I think she may have mentioned that. So it's a great thing to subscribe to, and you can access these things anytime you like.
Thank you. Thank you. So tell us a little bit about your book. You have a great title, and talk to us whether it's fiction, nonfiction, poetry. Tell us about your book.
Thanks. It's short works, very short works in most cases, and that goes by the name of flash fiction. And for people who may be unaware, that flash fiction is a form that is lies somewhere between prose poetry and the short story. There's a very, very large and active flash fiction community worldwide. I'm very happy to be a member of. And that is what most of this book is. The very last story is a long short story, but most of it is flash fiction. So what I'll be reading 4 pieces, and they are flash fiction. They're quite short.
Okay. So begin. We're ready to hear.
Oh, okay. Let me see. I am ready to begin too. I wanted to mention that, I'm a fiction writer, as you say, and really, if I'm to use anything from real life, straight up used from real life, it's always the setting. I've never asked anybody else whether that's the case for them too with fiction, but all of my stories take place in settings that I know very well and that are part of my life. This one is no exception. It is called "We Are Sitting Down to Miracle Monday," Thanksgiving story.
Wonderful.
Everyone's
Perfect.
brought leftovers from Thanksgiving. Sasha says the miracle will be if no one dies from food poisoning. But it's the first day everyone could make it. And really, the miracle is we all survive the holiday with our families. I'm in a terrible mood. I meant to get spiffed up, but stopped halfway. So I'm in a pencil skirt and a too small t-shirt with a faded picture of Betty Boop on it. Period cramps, terrible. Makeup, half-assed. My girlfriend Sasha has been fired from her temp job for pressing her boobs against a glass conference room wall 26 floors up. Our heater is broken, so is our oven. Luckily, our next door neighbor seems to be out, and I still have her key from when we washed her place last summer, so her oven is ours. Brian and his young boyfriend Willie worked a brunch in Golden Gate Park and arrived bearing 2 shrimp trees, a jar of cocktail sauce, and a double magnum of bubbly they've stolen. Brian calls their black pants and white shirts their retail drag. Their closet at home is stuffed with items they've liberated from Macy's. Frankie brings his Ukrainian workmate, Pat, who we all like to have around because he's the only real punk we know. It's only a matter of time before Pat gets blackout drunk and throws a punch. It's happened every single time I've seen him. On Halloween, he and Brian ended up on the sidewalk, snarling in their clown costumes. But I know Pat spent Halloween alone. He kisses my cheek, and I hear the swish of chains on his leather jacket. He really is so gentlemanly at the beginning of things. Frankie is wolfing down shrimp, dragging them through the plate of ketchupy sauce. One of the shrimp trees is nearly defenestrated. He's keeping an eye on Pat, who's telling how he awoke this morning on the sand on Ocean Beach with his wallet and glasses. We are six then, displayed before us, 5 bowls of cranberry sauce, a pile of turkey skin on a plate, the rolls and bowl of mashed potatoes are down the hall in my neighbor's oven. We pass around a joint. I pass around spoons, and soon the cranberry is making its way around. Brian refills our glasses from the magnum of warm bubbly. The tablecloth is soaked with it. Willie offers to check the oven down the hall. Our dog, Gary Glitter, snuffles around our feet. I keep handing down bits of turkey skin. He licks my hand. We don't have fairy lights, but the street light streaming in illuminates the raindrops on the windows. It really is a moment to behold. Everyone starts saying what they are thankful for. My feet in their socks are so nicely warm. Then I realize Gary Glitter has thrown up under the table, and that's when Willie bursts in. There's a fire next door in the neighbor's kitchen. He couldn't control it. He's dramatically backlit by gray smoke like a performer on stage, and I realize he's crying. He thinks he's in trouble. We are all so young, but Willie is even younger. Beside me, Pat lurches to his feet like a skinny bear, a growl beginning in his chest. That one was from the Pinch Journal. The second story is called Company. There's a tap at the door, too soft to be called a knock. The equity and inclusion meeting is ending, so I jab the leave button as I smile and wave. Goodbye. My legs have stiffened in the sitting position. It's still early, but already purpling up out there. The hedge my father planted outside the front window years ago renders my at-home work corner winter dark. I crack the front door to reveal an old man with a drooping mustache. Beside him is a pony, brown and white. A horseshoe of synthetic red roses hangs from the pony's neck. On a strap around the man's own neck hangs a camera. The man's eyes are lugubrious. Are you serious? I say. Old-fashioned, I know, he says. We live not far from here, from the liquor store. Are there any children in the home? It turns out he's making a little money taking Polaroid photos of neighborhood kids atop his tiny horse. I am old enough to remember such photographers, such businesses, but barely. No kids, but I grew up in this neighborhood, I say. The block has changed. There used to be a lot of pride here. Now it's all burnt lawns, cracked stucco, and steel security doors. The palm trees seem drained of their life force. This was my parents' place, I say. I don't add, and now I'm back. Madam, I can see you're otherwise engaged. His sad eyes take in my eyeliner, my blouse and earrings, my sweats and bare feet. His jacket is thin. Door-to-door photos. Failure lives behind those eyes. He's not even making a pitch. His little horse shifts and blinks. She's thirsty, you see, he says at last. To demonstrate, the man lifts the horse's upper lip. He presses gently on her gum near the upper teeth. The pink should return more quickly than this. You could have just asked for water, I say. I have never been this close to a horse. Their giant eyeballs have always unnerved me. Hang on. In the kitchen, I fill a cereal bowl with tap water. When I return, the man and his horse are in my living room, standing in front of the Christmas tree. The little horse nuzzles fallen pine needles. She sure seems to enjoy that water, I say, as we watch her drink. These two are the first living things in here all year, other than me and last summer's mosquitoes. I discreetly inhale, trying to find the man's scent. English leather? This old girl and me, we're best friends, he is saying. His voice is felty. We take care of each other. Tears spring to my eyes, and I squeeze them back in. The horse finishes her water, and I take them on a tour of the house. That's what people do now, isn't it? Give tours of their houses when people come over? I don't remember anyone doing that when I was growing up. The man nods and murmurs appreciation for my spare rooms, one of which still houses my father's home bar with its unlit hams and Olympia beer lights. I'd created a decoupage sign for him when I was 12. Magazine ripped images of a naked flapper, a fanned out royal flush, and a bottle of Hennessy. Above the pictures I'd stenciled, "What's your pleasure?" The other guest room is just my mother's. Just my mother's Hammond Solavox organ, coated with a thin layer of dust I hadn't noticed before. Well, I have a meeting, I say, and I hear in my voice the regret that our visit is ending so soon. The old man says cheerfully that they'll see themselves out. It really was good, the normalcy of having someone in here. I turn my office chair around so I'm writing a cowgirl style. That feels off, so I remove my underpants and sweats and try again. I must have the wrong time for the meeting because the camera returns only my own face, looking pallid. I sit there breathing in my square. I utilize a feature that adds coral lipstick to my mouth and prettily shaped brows above my glasses. But I see now that when I move my head, the simulated lips and brows drift fractionally behind. When I hit leave, I worry I'll find a mound of horse droppings in the vestibule or the front door yawning wide. Instead, the living room is neat, as always. The only trace of them is a Polaroid photo of a man and the horse. The man is waving and smiling. I sniff the air hard for English letter, but detect no trace. The old-fashioned set would have been company of a sort. In the bathroom, I climb onto the sink and press my face close to the mirror. I manually lift my lip. I jab with my pointer finger the upper gum, watching the color recede and fill. White, then pink, then white, then pink. And that one was from Atticus Review. The next story is called Cod Pod. My husband roared off right after dinner. Joe owed his old friend Cod Pod a solid, or at least they both agreed he did. I stood in the doorway watching him take the corner. I've never met Cod Pod, but yesterday we received a wedding gift delivered by a friend of Cod's, wearing white shorts and a spangly halter top. Fusilli curls. Inside a cardboard box was a cat, a Russian blue. "I can't stay," she said, flashing a smile and looking at Joe. Her accent was also Russian. She wore braces on her teeth. As she dipped down into the driver's side seat, I beheld the roundest rear end I had ever seen. "See that?" Joe asked me without moving his lips after he helped her close the car door. I thought he was going to say more, but he stopped. They had shared a few words. She'd passed Joe a piece of paper, a wedding wish, probably. He squeezed my shoulder, watching the girl pull away. There we stood with our box of cat. We hustled her inside and named her Loli. I thought it'd be wonderful to have a little friend. Joe was gone so much. But Loli just hunkered behind our cinder block and board bookshelves. Still, in the morning her bowls were clean. I spent much of the day on my belly watching her. "This is trauma," Joe explained, hunkered down beside me. His brows lowered in the way that they always did when he was teaching me something. "This is what a traumatized cat looks like, Letty." Joe and Cod Pod met as teens in Fernley, Nevada. A blistering summer day on the cul-de-sac where their families were next-door neighbors. It seems Joe had stuck his dad's .22 out a second-floor window and was waving it around. Cod Pod carried on watering down his driveway, right outside Cod's window. Everyone else had scrambled inside. Something in Cod's casual stance had struck Joe, soothed him. He'd come down without the gun and talked quietly with Cod Pod until the sheriffs came. So Cod had saved Joe's life, probably. And I get it about Joe's allure. You might say I am studying him to become more nonplussed. but so far it's not working. It was warm. Our front window was open to catch the breeze. It was 4 hours from Oakland to Reno. Codpod's place in Fernley was 50 miles beyond that. But now it was 2 a.m. and no call had come. A pit inside me stretched, widened, in terrible vastness. That old familiar feeling. Our upstairs neighbors began having sex. They were a young couple my age. The guy stayed home all day blasting rap music. His girlfriend was a plump Latina who left every morning in pumps and a skirt. Her fake sex cries were a running joke between Joe and me. But at least they had sex, I thought now, tears stinging my eyes. Lily's bowls were full. She wasn't behind the bookshelves or in the bathroom where the litter box was. Joe should have called by now, and now Loli was gone. My pulse banged. I took a shaky breath and phoned Godpod. "Hey, Letty," he said, as though we spoke at 2 every morning. No, Joe hadn't shown up. Maybe he'd stopped in Reno for a few hands or a slice of pie. Joe never would have stopped in Reno. He'd run into some trouble there before we met. He said I was better off not knowing. Maybe he'll tell me now that we're married. A wife can't be forced to testify against her husband. I asked Codpod to have Joe call me when he got in, or if, he heard anything. And vice versa, he returned, and we said our goodnights. I didn't even know his real name. I cradled the unused litter box, feeling like I stood at the end of one of those yawning sinkholes you hear about in Alabama or South America. I was completely alone in our apartment, with mold fuzzily framing the windows. My new husband vanished in the desert, and my beautiful kitty had taken a powder the minute she had the chance. I dropped to my knees. "I can't do it," I whispered. As if in answer, the woman upstairs wailed. This was the kind of sex Joe and I could start having if only he was all right. I dipped my fingers into the waistband of my underpants. The phone jingled. It was Joe, talking fast. It seemed he had second thoughts about that favor he owed Codpod. True, Cod had something big on him, he explained, but he'd rather call Cod's bluff than continue his association with that bad apple. Then, after all, he had me to consider now, 100%. That's what he said. Continue his association. He had me. Adoration flooded my chest. Okay, I yelled. He wanted to bring me a pair of nice cowboy boots, he hollered back, because he was mine and I was his. I couldn't wait to see Joe again. I didn't care what had happened or what Codpod had on him, whether he'd start allowing me to leave our apartment. And that's when I did. I used my fingers to get myself excited. I didn't stop until a syrupy fire began within me. I buried my cry in the couch cushion. I wanted to save my wails for Joe. He would help me find this wild kitty of ours. We would raise and tame her, spending peaceful evenings together at home. I rearranged my clothing. My flyer was a picture of Lily and the word help. I'd forgotten to include our telephone number. Joe was in it. He was holding her. His eyes held a challenge. Answering that challenge was a key to a wonderful future. And now it seemed it solved it, just by waiting long enough. I believed it 100%. That story was from Ghost Parachute Journal. And the last story I'll read this evening is called "In the Midst of a Global Pandemic, Your Washing Machine Gives Up the Ghost." Just like the garbage disposal and the floor heater. Before you were laid off, it was tough to break from work to await a workman's long window. Today, it's a feat to scramble quarters needed for that long postponed trip to the laundromat. You tell yourself you'll wait in the car during the cycles. You've sheltered alone for 9 months, you stay. It's hot inside, like in your childhood far away. That same humid air, the banks of molded orange chairs, the ceiling-mounted TV, the dried thin softener sheets littering cement floors. Two young women chat about a double date after church on Sunday. Their eyes are merry above their masks. The clothes they fold are sweet and bright. Beside you, a man in a nylon soccer shirt slumps nearly prone, finger pecking his phone. You don't normally appreciate men's cologne, but his somehow smells delicious. That famous San Francisco chocolate is actually made in your town of overflowing trash cans, nail salons, and lumpy sidewalks. The factory is half a mile from this laundromat, even closer to the emergency room. The smell of fresh confection perfumes the most unpretty places. The ceiling mounted TV issues the news. The volume swells. There's a celebration at your Acura dealer. And the county's experience a historic mass exodus. The nearby casino blares wide grinning winners. You could be next. When the timer buzzes, you shove warm towels and laundered thin t-shirts into pillowcases, your underpants cling like starfishes. It isn't true that your washing machine has given up the ghost. You've just been hunkered down alone for so long in your small apartment where nothing is broken, but things inside of you have begun to stop working. A father swings his gurgling baby so the little one's bare toes tap the buttons of the vending machine. He catches your eye and you both smile under your masks. You tilt your head and crinkle your eyes so he'll know. The door chimes. You all turn around to smile under your masks at the new arrival. And that one's from Flash Flood Journal.
Such wonderful stories. I'm going to put this up. I'm going to put this up. Everyone, pardon me for Moonwalking by Patricia Bidar. This is what the cover looks like. And it's going to be published next week. I think the pub date is December 2nd. Is that correct?
Yes, December 2nd. And I will tell you right now, we're also expecting our first grandchild on that date. So it's going to be a very, very special day indeed.
Yes, well, congratulations on both counts. So let's talk a little bit. Let's talk a little bit about this book. What inspired all these flash fictions? All the characters are very disparate, very different. So, what inspires the stories, or what inspired collecting them into a book? Can you talk a little bit about how the book came about?
Yeah, thanks for asking that. These stories, I started writing flash fiction in 2017 and publishing in 2018. And these stories are, they're so short. So I believe there are 61 in this book, although I'm kind of going by my memory. There are a lot of stories in this book because they are quite short. They are from the first 4 or so years that I started writing flash, and inspired by I get inspired by all sorts of things. I've always been a writer, and I'm live a little bit in a dream, if you know what I mean.
I do.
I notice a lot of things, and a part of me is always in a dream, and I believe that when I'm writing, it's a way for me to stay inside of that dream and make some sense, organize, mold, sculpt, and make into a piece of art. The things that I have seen, heard, thought, read, and gotten inspired by for many years. So I began writing very, very short in 2017, and these are the first 60-ish stories that I put together in a book. Not by any means the only stories I wrote, but the ones that I felt went together well and were strong. Most
well, they're very poignant. All of them are little glimpses into people's lives. The first one, let's talk about the first one.
Okay.
In a way, it seems like there's like some dark comedy in there. With the name, they're clandestinely using the neighbor's kitchen because the neighbor is away and it catches fire. Mm-hmm. So, like, how did that come about, and how did you get these disparate characters? You named all these characters who seem like misfits, but yet they all belong together. Like, what inspired that?
I love that word, misfits. Yeah, and someone years ago once told me about this story. I didn't even bother to keep track of who was who because there are a lot of people in it. Normally, you would never have that many characters in a work of flash fiction, but I think the idea was to impart a mood of a kind of person, that they were together and they really, really did share this beautiful moment um, of beauty and breaking bread together after the holiday.
Yeah, and it was delicious. I mean, because it was not the three bowls of cranberry is hilarious, with minus the turkey.
Yeah, the weird assortment of food they have is a little bit of an echo of who they are.
Yeah, exactly, which I thought was absolutely brilliant. But I did laugh when the kitchen. I mean, I did think it was hilarious that the neighbor's kitchen caught fire. Like, how do they explain that? And in fact, that sounds like
Yeah.
it's the beginning. It could be, if you flesh it out, it could be a little novel. Like who the neighbor is, and she came home from wherever she was to find her kitchen burnt.
That is an element of Flash, actually, Rosalia, that the um the parts that are left unsaid are filled in by the reader. It's a finished and complete glimpse into a world, but it's a whole world. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
my plan. It is a glimpse into what is a world, a universe, a culture, whatever, depending on what the topic of the story is. And that's what flash fiction is. Much that is unsaid, and so the writer really is, or me. I really am trying to enter into a communion with the reader, um,
Mm-hmm.
where we're in an experience together. Once the reader has my book, or has his journal open, or whatever is reading the story, then it's for them to imagine the parts that I have not said. But the idea in flash fiction is that you say enough that it's a complete piece.
Well, and all of these are little gems. They're just polished jewels. I thought it was hilarious that the lonely woman welcomes a man and his horse into her living room. Like, all of these things have the element of the absurd in them. And the guy left her a photo. I mean, how perfect is that? I mean, I pictured
Yeah.
her and the horse and the man touring the house. Um,
Yeah. Yeah, that story is about loneliness and dehydration in the end. But that story takes place in my grandparents' house from when I was really little. I mean, just because I always do have a real setting in mind every time I write something. And they did have a Hammond Solovox organ in one of the rooms and a home bar in one of the rooms. And that was the kind of culture I lived in. And I don't know whether other people remember too, but people did used to come door to door to take photos with a miniature horse, I must say, not a full size horse. And I
I have a
don't think
picture of
they
my
do that
older
anymore.
brother on such a horse. And we live
Uh-huh.
in a city, right in Baltimore City. He's 75 now. So when he was a child,
Oh my God.
there's a picture of him on that horse with some erstwhile cowboy hat that somebody found
Yes.
sitting on his head.
Yeah, I've since seen a lot of photos like that, and I just love seeing them.
But still, the loneliness. I mean, like, all of your stories are very, very deep, despite their brevity, despite and that might be a portion of Flash. But we just dive very deeply into the characters. You know, the horse was lonely, the man was lonely, and the woman was especially lonely.
Mhm.
You know, so let's talk a
It's
little
true.
bit
Yes.
about the other story about the cat and the newlywed. So what inspired that story?
That story, I'll start with the setting, takes place in the first apartment where my husband and I um, lived, where when we first got married, it's on Golden Gate Avenue in San Francisco. And somebody had given us a regular person had given us a cat for a wedding present. And we really loved that cat, but it was very much a feral cat. And it really did run away. And I was absolutely heartbroken about this. And at around the same time, my husband was going to help his father in Nevada. And it did happen at the same time that he was later than expected in Nevada, and the cat ran away. And I was so alone. So I will confess that really was based on that series of real events.
So did the cat ever come back in real
No.
life and in the story?
No, the cat never came back, but my husband did. He was fast asleep in his father's guest room.
Oh, okay.
But
Well,
instead, I
that's a
made it
lovely
about two
story.
other guys. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about your process. You said you were always a writer. So what did you write before? Do you still write longer work? And talk a little bit about being a writer.
I was able to really start writing kind of seriously after college when I moved to Santa Monica. I would take UCLA extension classes, and I got to take myself a little seriously in those classes, and I applied for and was accepted into UC Davis's graduate writing program. And so that, after having spent years work in the work world, um, was an amazing, amazing gift to spend 2 years focusing on writing short stories. And back in those days, my short stories were very long, quite long. And I had heard of flash fiction, but it wasn't really, back then, flash fiction wasn't really a big presence at all in these master's programs. So I was certainly aware of them. And in fact, my thesis advisor, Elizabeth Talent, had written some very short works. But the idea of flash fiction hadn't quite taken hold, although it existed. And I was out there writing long, long stories.
Yeah, I think in
After
the past
that,
we would be able to
go
write a
ahead.
30-page story without,
Yeah,
and it would
yeah,
not be blinked at, a 30-pager.
yeah. Well, people are still writing. Let me tell you, they definitely are. I'm not one of those people. I love flash fiction very much. My stories are getting a little longer, many of them, but not that much. Nothing like what I used to write and used to be comfortable writing. I work or serve as a reader for Story Magazine, which is short stories, and
Hmm.
quite often the stories are about 30 pages. And it's just such an eye opener to me to see stories that are that long. It is not only is it a difference in length, but it is a completely different genre from flash, and it's just kind of fascinating. I'm very committed to flash fiction.
So talk a little bit about your process. Do you write every day? Do you keep a journal? A lot of people who listen to us are aspiring writers, and they kind of like to know
Mhm.
what your writing habits are like.
After many years, I was in graduate school many years ago. I now have time to write as of 2017 or so. Um, no, I do not have a regular writing practice. I don't have a regular sleep routine, wake up routine, or writing routine, or work routine, even. I'm self employed. So I write when something strikes me, and that is often spurred by something I read or a work of art. I like to go to art museums, especially contemporary art. Um, Films. My background is in filmmaking, or my undergrad degree is in filmmaking, and I still do watch, a lot of foreign and arty films, which are just, to me, they just really spark something. So I always start with an idea or a feeling or an emotion. Never a message, never a lesson, anything like that, or even a theme, but something that strikes me hard is what I will start with.
That's a really wonderful way. I'm going to put your book up again.
Okay,
Um, so do you keep a journal or anything like that?
I don't. I don't keep a journal at all.
So you write these gems out of nowhere. How long does it take you to write a flash piece?
8 years. No, they take. I revise unto infinity. So I never stop revising things. So that's why I joke that. But a long time. It is
Yeah.
very rare that I just write something and it's done. Well, never. That never happens.
Yeah.
I revise a lot
Yeah, there's a
over a
craft
lot of
book
time.
out called The Art of Slow Writing, so you might enjoy that book. But I think
Yeah.
it takes a lot of serious people a long time because you're polishing a little gem and then
Yeah, and
adding it.
flesh has to be very distilled,
Mhm.
right? And
Mhm.
when if you sit down and write, it's not that, you know. It
Mhm.
might be notes or it might be a loose, baggy story. Either way, you got a lot of work to do.
So when did you know that you had a collection worthy number of flashes? And talk about putting your book together.
Let's see. It was accepted by Unsolicited years maybe about 3 years in, I started putting things together and sending it out to presses. But then with each submission, I'm kind of like this with my stories too. I look at it again and I try to improve it. And it's just like, how can I make this better? I know more now. Or I wrote a new story and I thought it was really good and I want it to be in there. So
So it
it's
was the ever changing
iterative
submissions.
process. With every submission, I kind of sort of do the stories too. But so that happened, and then the wonderful publisher at Unsolicited Press, whose name is Summer, she accepted it, and Summer Stewart has been wonderful to work with. I just can't recommend Unsolicited Press more highly. I'm glad we're press mates, and I've gotten to read. I gotten to meet some other press mates in San Francisco Bay Area, and it's just been great to be part of something so wonderful. Volunteer run. This Summer Stewart is a dynamo and leads
She
just
is.
this wonderful, wonderful team.
Yes, they are there, and I'm very honored to be a pressmate with so many incredibly talented people that are there and whose work just sings arias. So we're
And I
gonna
think so too.
yeah. So is
Yeah. So I hope I
there's
answered your question.
there's a lot of aspiring writers who want to be published, who want to have more work, about a larger body of work. What is your advice to them?
Sit with it. Sit with it. When you think you're ready, sit with it some more and take your manuscript on a trip and read it. You know what I mean? Look at. I'm kind of obsessed with the idea of sequencing of stories now, especially with a collection of flash fiction. You're talking about a lot of stories, and you want to
Mm-hmm.
see it. You want to see somewhat of a theme there. If someone's
Mm-hmm.
doing a collection of regular short stories too, there are fewer, but you still want to see what's the feeling of them, what's the mood. If you don't want to say theme, what brings them together, and why do they go together? Do they go together? Is there one outlier that doesn't really go? Or is it good that it doesn't go? You got to really sit with your manuscript. And as I say, I really like the idea of taking your manuscript on a little trip and taking a fresh look.
That is such a wonderful idea. Well, because this is Thanksgiving tomorrow, we usually run an hour, but we're going to end a little earlier this evening. I want to let everyone know that our next show is December 10th. It is the last show of the year because the one after that would be Christmas Eve, and we're not doing anything on Christmas Eve. But we will start again in the beginning of January with a whole new schedule. I want to thank the wonderful Patricia for being here and sharing her inspiring work with us tonight. And thank you for being with us. The next show, as I said, is December 10th. So please be sure to join us at 8:30 Eastern Time and 5:30 Pacific time. We wish everyone out there a joyful and wonderful and abundant Thanksgiving filled with friends and love and happiness. And for all the writers out there, keep writing. We'll see you next month. Pat, thank you for sharing. And I would also like to tell everybody that Pat's book is available for pre-order off of Unsolicited Press and also at booksellers everywhere of good books. Thank you all. Thank you, Pat. Thank you, everyone who watched and who left comments. And we will see you on December 10th. Good night. Ciao.
Thank you.